Hello everyone and welcome to another Java tutorial. Today we'll be going over what nodes are. Now nodes are pretty simple to understand. They're pretty much like an array list. If you haven't seen an array list or what those are about, I have a few tutorials on array lists. So please familiarize yourself with those if you haven't already. Nodes are similar to what you call linked lists. The linked lists are similar to array lists where you have your add methods and stuff like that, but they're used more for allocating data, moving and replacing indexes. But what we're going to do is we're going to make a linked list uh, kind of program, but from scratch. So how nodes work is, if you have a class, that class has access to the next one, and so on and so forth. It doesn't have access to the one after that. It just has access to the next one. So that way you go order by order. Okay, so let's start. I made a new project. Yeah, I want to say that. I made a new project called node class, right? It's gonna hold our main, and inside we're going to need to make a new file called new Java project called node, right? Now, don't think of a node as a node. Think of it as just an object, right? We're just calling a node because most people, when they think of this, they call it a node. But it could be anything. It could be an assembly line that holds cars. It could be, I don't know, a refrigerator that holds food, right? Or has shelves and going shelf by shelf. So think of it kind of just an object that has access to the one right after it. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to have a public, oops, a public node called next, right? And we're not going to assign it yet, because right now we don't know what it is. So we're going to call. We don't need to call this a head node, and all nodes, they all have a starting and an ending, a front and a back, called a tail. Um, and currently, all we need to do is say public boolean head. That way we know this is the head and we know this is the tail. So public boolean tail. Okay, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a method that states whether this is heads or tails, and this is going to be in our constructor. So when this class gets made as an object, right, we call it up here node your object variable equals new node. We're gonna create a constructor. So no public node, and public has to be lowercase. Public node. We're going to set these booleans. So let's do head and boolean. Let's see. Tail, and we're just gonna have another one that is just gonna be boolean. I don't know, boolean neither. That way it's just a child. Actually, let's not have that. We'll set it manually. That way we don't have to have that option if we don't want to. Right, so we make a public node, right? And we don't know, we're just gonna have a node, right? It's just gonna have, let's just say it has information, a public int value, right? Let's just say it has a value of something, right? And let's do yeah, let's do that. We'll assign a value. Let's just assign a value in our thing, in our constructor. So this star value equals value. That way the constructor knows we're referring to the value of the class, not the temporary value. Okay, so now let's make the method that tells if it's a head or tails, and then next we're going to go and make the method that holds the next node when we add a node after this. So for now it's gonna be really simple, but then when we get to the node, try to follow along. If you can't follow along, and if you have any questions, please put it in the comments below. So let's go and make our method. So public set head, right? So we're just going to do head equals true, and this is gonna be a void, right? And tail is gonna equal false. Oops. Okay. And fails. Wow. False. And public void set tail. Okay, and we have it should be a static, that way we can get the so set tail, so head is gonna equal false, tail is gonna equal true, and let's just say naturally we'll set these to false. Okay, so tail. Okay, so I believe we should be good for here. Now this is where things get interesting. When we add our next node, we need to get the node that we're adding and set that to this, right? Because how it's gonna work is we're not gonna make an array, we're just going to have a class, and it's just going to be calling the next one over, right? So think of it as this. Let me see if I can get paint up here. Where's my mouse? Okay, so you have, let's say, a class, right? And don't worry about this. Many people get confused on how nodes are drawn. So first, just ignore this part here. You have your class, right? So let's say we're holding a variable that's an integer, right? So let's call this one, right? And it's a class, right? So we're gonna call the next one over, right? Let's say we make another node, right? And we call this with a value of 2, okay? And think of this as just a doorway that leads to the next one, right? So that's pretty much what it is, right? That's how people normally draw out nodes. They have the class, right? And then they have something that goes to the one over. It could go back. It's just calling if you choose to. But for the most part, people don't go backwards. They go from here to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. You can obviously go backwards if you make it like that. So what you're going to do is we're going to go and program this part where it says the next one over is a new object, right? So you won't be able to have access to this unless you go through this, okay? Now later on you will be able to program it so you can go directly to index, right, where the program will automatically do it for you. That's where linked list comes in. You can't access the second one until you go through the first one. That's why when you're going to get an array, right, an index of a massive amount of data, you're going to use array lists because those are really easy to work with. They're not linked lists. Okay, so let's go back to NetBeans and let's program this. So now let's do public add, and we're going to add our node here. called node next, and it's gonna be a void, and actually no, let's say we want to make a node, but that's going to be added to the one before it. So pretty much what I'm going to do is, let's say we want to make another node. Instead of making one, we're going to say, okay, I'm going to make this one, right? I'm going to make a node, right? And when I make it, I'm going to be making the node in this, right? And assigning this node to this one, right? And returning this object. That way we have this object and we can do whatever we want with it. Okay, so void node next, right? And we're going to just return, well, not return, sorry, that will be right after, and we're going to return node. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this next node value, sorry, this the next, and we're going to set it to this node. Okay, and not node next, and what you probably may not have seen before is this. I'll do it in my main method. So we're going to now return the node, right? So we added the node, right? And we set this node to next, right? And we're going to be returning this next node as a value. Okay, so when we want to get the next node off of this one, we're going to do node next, and we're going to be returning, like if we have a node and we want to say we want the next, let me get a different color, red's a good color. If you're on this node and you're saying, oh, I want to get the one after it, we're just going to be returning this value from this class, and in essence we're just going to be jumping over to the number 2. Okay, so let's do that. So public node next, and we're going to just return next. How simple is that? Now time to run all this. So let's first make our node, right? So node head equals new node, and I don't believe there were any constructors. Yes, the initial value, let's do 1, and we're going to do head dot set head to true, right? That automatically does it for us. Okay, so let's do now head, no, not head, sorry, node first equals new, no, not new node, head dot add new, that's where I was, new node, and a value of 2. That way we don't have to instantiate a new node, it's returning a node for us. So all we have to do is just now assign this. So now if we do let's do it. Yeah, we can call it straight from there because it's public. So now let's do head dot system dot out head node is head dot value, head node value, sorry, is head dot value, spell it right. And now we're going to get the next node and print that one out. Next node after that is head, now this is gonna get weird, dot next dot value. Okay, so hopefully this prints. Okay, so this did run, awesome. So we know the head node value is 1, right? So we set this as the head, right? So that way later on if we say, oh, we want to get the head of the entire, all the nodes put together, or the tail, which ends that, we can say, oh, look for which is the head and which is the tail. Okay? So the head node value is 1, next node after that is 2, because we got head dot next dot value, right? So now we're going to do node, we're going to have a node, right, that we're not going to set it to anything, and we're going to set it to our current node. Okay, so node current public, yeah, we can make it public. Okay, and we're going to say, let's see, head dot set head current equals head. Okay, non-static variable current cannot be referenced from a static content. Okay, public static, aha, oh yeah, that way all classes can have access to it. Makes sense. So now we added that, and let's say now we're on current equals first now, and now let's do system.out current node value is current dot value, and let's just copy that, put that here, and if we run this again, we get current node value is 1, head node value is 1, right? I know that kind of is weird because the print statement is up here, but it doesn't matter. The next node after that is 2, and our current node value is now 2. Now you normally don't need to have a current. That's just if you want one variable and you don't want to have to worry about all which variable is which. You can just say, okay, I want the value that I'm currently on, or whatnot. Okay, so now we should make a method that says, oh, we're already at 17 minutes, so I'll leave that to another tutorial if you guys want. So pretty much if I decide to make another tutorial based off you guys, we'll work on making a method that all we have to do is make one node and just add nodes to the end of it. We don't have to worry now about making the first one, then adding to that first one, and then will be the second one, then making another node and adding it to the second one. That's where current comes in. Alright, thank you for watching. If you have any more questions, please post on the YouTube channel. Don't be afraid to ask any questions. I actually encourage questions, since in asking that question, you'll be able to maybe understand what it is that you're trying to ask, or be able to think of what you're trying to accomplish by asking. Alright, so please subscribe, please share, and please smash that like button. Thanks.